Hi everyone, I'm BritSimon. So, have you won the DV Lottery 2022? If so, congratulations. If you're struggling to check your entry, I'm going to post a link for you up here. There'll be a link for you to go to another video which will help you check your entry. But hopefully if you're watching this video, it's because you've already checked your entry. You've found out that you've been selected for the DV Lottery in 2022. And so you want to know how to process your case. That's great. Congratulations. Millions of people apply and very few people get accepted and get selected. So it really is a very big deal, and congratulations to you. You're one of the lucky ones. So I'm going to explain in this video how you'll process your case. It's not automatic that you're going to get your green card. You've been selected for further processing. That's what the letter says to you, that you've been selected. You've been selected for further processing, but that doesn't guarantee you a green card yet. You have to go through some steps and processes, and I actually will happily guide you through all of the processes you have to go through. And in this video, I'll cover some of the basics at high level so that you can get an idea how this is all going to work. And I'll give you some links as well to some other videos and articles that I've prepared in the past that will help you with various stages. Okay? I hope that's going to be helpful to you. So first of all, let's just talk about me, why I'm doing this for you, and why you should consider listening to me about this whole subject. Well, I'm a previous green card, I'm a green card recipient in a DV lottery. My wife actually was able to enter the lottery as a Spanish resident, or Spanish national. I'm from the UK. The UK is banned from the DV lottery process, but because of my marriage to my wife, we were able to enter. We were selected in the DV 2014, so around about 7 years ago now, and we now live in Northern California, and I'm out here in the countryside near my home, where I live. So that's a little bit about me. About my blog, I give information to people through my blog about how to process their DV lottery. I'm only concerned with DV lottery cases. I don't help with other types of immigration. I'm not a lawyer. I don't do this for money. I just do it because I'm trying to give back. I understand the process, and I'm trying to give back to people that are going through this process. I have been doing this since 2013. I've been helping people with their cases, and I've had many thousands of people go through my blog and successfully process their cases. Many thousands of people. And as you go through the year, you'll probably hear my name from other people who have been through the process or are getting help this year. So hopefully you realize you can trust me to give you accurate, honest information. Sometimes you don't want the honest information, but nevertheless that's what I'll be giving you all the time. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that are going to be important for you. So in this video, I'm going to cover a few important topics. I'm going to explain the process of how you apply for the green card, how long that will take, the importance of your case number in this whole process, what difference that makes. I'll talk to you about some risks of denial and whether you should even be trying to process your case or not. And I'll talk to you about some of the current risks that are happening right now due to the COVID crisis. Okay, so those are the things that I'm going to go through with you, and let's just cover those things now. Okay, so it really is a beautiful afternoon here in Northern California. So I appreciate the countryside, and I've moved position a little bit so that we can continue the conversation. So there is a process. There is a process that you have to go through in order to get the green card. Okay. The timing of this process is probably the first thing I'd like to make sure you understand. You've been selected for further processing, but the granting of the green card is not automatic. There is a process, and it's a slow process. The the DV2022 interviews will start, they'll begin on October 1st and they'll continue until September 30th of 2022, so a whole year, October 1st 2021 to September 30th 2022, and processing of the cases is spread out throughout that whole time period. Okay, so even though you've been selected for your win now and we're in early May, you can't get your green card immediately. You can't disappear off over to America straight away. That's not how the process works. You've got to go through a number of steps and it will take several months, at least 6 months and possibly up to 18 months for your process to go through. Okay, so unpack your bags if that's what you did as soon as you found out you're a winner. You know, this is a slow process. You'll have to take your time with it. It's going to be frustrating, and you'll probably at some point have me telling you to be patient, because you just have to be patient in this process. Okay, the process itself goes through several stages. You're going to do a few things during this process. Firstly, you should confirm that you're qualified to process through the DV process. What that means is you need to make sure that you've not broken any rules so far, and I'll cover some of those rules a little bit later, that you're qualified to process your case, that you meet the education standards, etc. And again, I'm going to give you a little bit more information about that. And that you will be able to process your case, and also that your case number has a good chance of getting the green card, because they over-select people every year. They select more people than they have green cards. So this year there should be 55,000 people that are granted green cards. We may not get to that number, I'll explain why later. But that's the maximum number that could get green cards, and they will have selected, we don't know the numbers yet, but they will have selected around about 100,000 people. So there's a lot of people that actually won't get through the process. They'll decide not to proceed, or they won't meet the qualifications. They might even be refused at an interview. Okay, so it's not everybody that's going to get a green card. You need to understand that from the very beginning. Okay, the process itself, in very broad terms, is you'll confirm that you're eligible and you want to apply. You'll fill out a form online called the DS260. That's your application to apply for immigrant status. After you've filled out your DS260, it'll be processed by the government, by a department of the government called KCC. And KCC go through that form and make sure that you're basically qualified, that they understand all of the information. KCC will not refuse your case at that point. That's not their role. You can only be refused, if at all, by a consular officer during the process. So you'll submit your DS260. Okay. Then you'll submit documentation, some very basic documentation, your birth certificate, marriage certificate, copy of your passport, some police certificates, that sort of thing. You'll submit some documentation, and they'll be waiting between those two processes. It's not like you submit your DS260 one day and you submit your documents the next day. No, it takes some time, right? And then depending on your case number, you'll then later be scheduled for an interview between that October the 1st, 2021 time period and September 30th, 2022, somewhere between that timeline. Okay, and there is a way to figure out roughly when you're going to be scheduled for interview, and I'll explain that to you in a few moments. But basically there's a lot of waiting involved. So you'll fill out your DS260, you'll then later send your documents, and then you'll wait until your case is ready to be scheduled. And so that at high level is the process. You'll then have an interview at your local embassy wherever you live. You can process your case wherever you live. It doesn't matter if you were born in Algeria but you now live in Germany, for example. You'll process the case in Germany in that case, right? Wherever you currently live is where you can process your case. It doesn't matter where you live. It's only important that you followed the process up to now. So that's what will happen. You'll have an interview at an embassy somewhere in the world. They'll go through the documentation. The interview process itself is very easy, but you must meet certain requirements and you mustn't have made any mistakes during the process, right? And if at that stage you qualify, you'll be given a visa, which is an immigrant visa stamped into your passport, and that visa gives you 6 months' time where you can travel to the United States to become a lawful permanent resident, which is the technical name for a green card holder. Okay, and at some point later you'll be sent your green card after you've arrived in the USA. Okay, a green card holder has pretty much all the rights of a US citizen. There's a couple of things that we can't do. We can't vote, for example. We can't vote in elections, whether it's presidential elections or local elections. We can't vote, but we have the right to live wherever we want in the USA. We can work in the USA with whatever sort of job we want to take, and we have the right to come and go from the USA as we wish. There's no restrictions on travel or on work or who you live with or how you want to live your life. That's entirely up to you. America is a free country. There's many freedoms we enjoy here. There's many protections and freedoms. There are also some responsibilities that we take on when we become lawful permanent residents in the USA, and we need to understand those things from the beginning. So hopefully you've understood all of that. Hopefully you understand what a green card is and what that means to you. And if not, we can go through that and explain that a little bit more in the process. But this is not a visitor's visa or a non-immigrant visa, etc. This is a visa or a right to live and work in the USA. Very important distinction there. Okay, hopefully that's all clear. That's a high-level overview of the process, and let's talk about a couple of things about how you qualify for the process itself. A couple of details there, and then in a few moments we'll then talk about some of the challenges and some of the problems that you may face, and again I'll only cover that at high level, and I'll be linking to other videos throughout this with videos up the top or here, I'm not sure where it'll appear, and you'll be able to click on those other videos. You'll be able to watch that video and then it will come back to this video so that you can continue watching. So at any time, if you see one of these descriptions appear at the top, click on that if you'd like more information about a particular topic that I've linked to there. I'll also be putting chapters in on this video so that you'll be able to skip to the chapter that's important to you to watch, and if you need to re-watch it, you can come back and re-watch it at your leisure. And then finally, obviously, I do want to mention I do maintain lots of information on my blog, written information. If you would prefer to have written information about how you process, I've written literally hundreds of articles on my blog over the years, and I answer questions for people on my blog as well. I don't do this as a paid service, as I think I mentioned earlier, and so I typically answer questions for people in the blog rather than by direct email or anything like that, because I want to help as many people as I can. And when I answer a question on my blog or here on YouTube, it helps more than one person, not just the one person asking the question. Okay? All right, let's talk about a couple of things about the requirements that you'll need to meet in order to get your green card. Okay? Okay, so the process itself, I mentioned the DS260. And I'm going to put a link in here which will be a link to my blog article which gives step-by-step instructions on how you fill out the DS260. The DS260 will be a little bit different for everybody depending on your circumstances. Perhaps you're a single person, it'll be very straightforward. Perhaps you're married and you have children, it'll be a little bit more complicated for you, but all of that is explained in a blog article that I've written on how to fill out the DS260. That article is a couple of years old, but it really is the same process, so it should help you. For the documents, I'm going to link to another video which is about how to send your documents. There's also a blog article for that. And that, little car going by, that information, the documents, etc., as I mentioned earlier, is very simple documentation that you send at this stage. You'll be required to provide other documentation at the interview, but you don't need to worry about that quite yet. That you've got some time to wait before you need to provide that documentation. Okay, I want to talk to you about the case number. You have a case number assigned to your case, and it's called by the government a rank order number. And basically during the draw process, everybody is assigned a case number. The case numbers are specific to the region. So for example, there is going to be an Africa case number 1, there'll be an EU, that's Europe, case number 1, an Asia region, case number 1. In other words, all the regions have their own numbering system, okay? So although you all entered one big lottery in the beginning, you've actually been divided out into 6 different groups by region. And for each of your regions, that's a part of your case number. So your case number will look something like 2022 AF for Africa or EU for Europe. So 2022 AF and then a number, a long number, several zeros, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like that, right? And that number at the end shows your position within the total region, to show roughly where you are, how many people are in front of you, sort of. It's not exactly how many people are in front of you, I'll explain that in a few minutes, but it's a position, if you like, your place in line. Now the case numbers, as I mentioned, start at number 1, and the case numbers go on and to different positions depending on the region. The lowest case, you'll hear people talk about, have you got a low case number or a high case number? It becomes important to understand where your case number belongs. But the lowest case number in each region is obviously going to be case number 1. That's the lowest number you could possibly have, right? And so then the case numbers go up to different levels depending on the region. So I'll give you some idea, an approximation of, for each of the regions, at least 5 of them, where the case numbers will go up to. And you can then figure out, roughly speaking, where your case number exists within that whole region, right? So for Africa, first of all, we don't know for sure these highest numbers yet, but this is going to be my guesstimate, my guess at this point, right? I think the highest case numbers will be something between 50 and 100,000 case number, right? So you'll have a number like 2022 AF, and then you could be, let's say case number 20,013, you'll have 0000 20,013, right? That'll be, that 20,013 is your number. When you talk to me on my blog, or if you ask anybody any question, it's helpful if you represent your number in the range that I've just given you there. So for example, you would tell me that you are a 2022, so you'd write your case number as 2022 AF, and then if you were 20,013, you'd put 20 XXX, 3 X's, to show me that you're in the 20,000 range. I don't need to know, and nobody else needs to know, your specific case number. It's for you only to know. You don't need to share that information with anyone. But it is helpful when you're asking me questions to give me an idea of the case number range. And so that's why I would like to know, are you in the 20,000 range, or the 2,000 range, or the 80,000 range? It's helpful for us to be able to understand and communicate that, right? So if you've got a case number that is, let's say you're in Africa and your case number is lower than 10,000, you've got a low case number. If your case number is higher than 50,000 or 60,000, you've probably got a high case number, okay? The highest case numbers won't get interviewed until late in the process. They start at the lowest case numbers and they go through to the other case numbers later on in the process. So if you've got case number AF 50,000, you're not going to get an interview in 2021. You're hoping to get an interview in perhaps the summer of 2022. It could be as late as that. Okay, so then that's Africa. EU region, I expect the numbers to be roughly up to, you know, the highest case numbers, roughly over 30,000, right? It could be even over 40,000. You know, the case numbers actually, you know, can go quite high. For the Asia region, we could see case numbers in the 20,000 range, perhaps even in the 30,000 range, okay? It varies year to year. One year is not the same as another. Oceania is a little bit different. Oceania numbers will be lower than I've mentioned for other regions. We may see case numbers in the 2,000 range or 3,000 range. That will be about the most we'll see. And then for South America, again, we'll see low case numbers. So we may see numbers as high as 4,000 or so, something like that, but not much higher than that. Okay, so when we talk about a low case number or a high case number, clearly it matters which region you're in, and it matters which year you're in, of course. So that's why you tell me your case number in the format of 2022, the region, and then the case number range to give me an idea of where you belong in that range. For South America and for Oceania, it's helpful if you'll tell me the first two numbers. So if your case number is 2200 and something, give me a 22XX to give me an idea. It tells me which 100 cases you're in, right, by using XX. Okay. So I think that should be fairly clear. The case number situation is dramatically important for cases. It affects the timing of your case, and also it affects your chances of processing. Sorry, I had to wait for a couple of big trucks to go by there. So yeah, the case number is very important. You'll need to know that case number. It'll affect when your case number is processed, when your case is processed, and frankly, even whether you get a chance to be processed, because in some years they don't get to the highest case numbers. Okay, so that's case numbers. Hopefully you're clear on that. Hopefully you've understood a little bit about the timing, and just about one last thing about case numbers. You'll find that we won't know the case numbers for a few weeks yet. We won't know the maximum case numbers. We'll have some ideas. We don't know how many people are selected for sure at this point, and we'll find that out within a couple of months or so. But the information is slowly revealed to us. We don't get all the information on day one. We know your case number, but we don't know how many people were selected, and we don't know what the highest case numbers are, etc. So for now, you're going to be a little bit confused. I do understand about where your number is at, and you'll have to come to my blog and listen to my videos to figure out roughly, as we find more information, you'll get a better idea of where you're at. There is a major point about case numbers, by the way, that I want to make clear to you. Let's say I'm EU number 10,000, right? 10,000 exactly, that's my case number. There are not necessarily 9,999 cases in front of me. That's not how it works. There are some what we call holes between the numbers. So between case number 1 and case number 10,000, there may only be 5,000, 6,000 cases in front of me, okay? There are that many holes, and it varies by region. And the reason is to do with the draw process, and I have a video if you want to click on the link. I have a link to explain exactly why those holes exist, but the point is that they do exist. So if your case number Africa 50,000, and we know that around about 22 or 23,000 visas will go to Africa, you don't necessarily have to give up because your case number is higher than the 22 or 23,000. It doesn't mean that you won't get a chance, right? Because there are not the same number of cases as we have numbers, right? Also, another thing that confuses people is people often wonder, what about your family members? How are they included in the process, etc.? Each of your family members, if you have any, are included on your case number, right? So again, if I have case number EU 10,000, that represents me and my wife and my kid, all three of us, and the 3 of us, when we get processed and we get approved, that would be 3 of the visas out of the 55,000 visas, not just 1. So your position in the processing and your chance of getting a visa in the end depends on your case number and how many people in front of you go for their process, proceed with their case, how many children there are, how many spouses there are, etc., how many people are really in front of you, considering also that there are a lot of holes in the process, there are a lot of gaps, right? So that's a rough understanding. Hopefully this is making sense to you. I'm sorry if it's not, but it will make sense over time. You'll understand more of what I'm saying as you sort of go through this process, and you'll have plenty of time to watch plenty of my videos, because as I mentioned, this is a long process. It's a frustratingly long process. I know, because I went through the process myself. Okay, let's cover another topic. So this is a slightly difficult part of the subject that we need to deal with: the chances of being denied your green card even though you've been selected. There are a few reasons why cases are denied, and I have a video which gives the top 9 reasons why people are denied, and I'll link to that above. But there are a couple of things that you need to think about straight away. Did you follow the process correctly? So you were, for example, you were supposed to tell the truth during your entry. If you're married and you put you were single, then you will be disqualified. If you're single and you said you were married for some reason, you included a spouse that you're not actually married to, you could be disqualified. And notice I made the difference there between you will be disqualified for saying you're single when you're actually married, as opposed to you may be disqualified if you said you were married when you're actually single. There's a difference there. Some things that you've done will cause denial, and there's nothing I can do and there's nothing you can do to fix it. There are other things that you may have done that may cause a problem, but there are ways to fix it. Okay, and so there are things that you can do. Commonly made mistakes: you can make minor trivial mistakes with your name as you're entering. A small spelling mistake, for example, on your name. That wouldn't normally get you denied. It could do in some cases, but it wouldn't normally get you denied. If, on the other hand, they believe that you deliberately changed your name in order to try and enter the lottery multiple times, then that will get you denied. Okay? Other reasons for denial: there's a few risks around your photo, around your about the passport, to make sure that you used the correct passport, etc., and gave all the correct information. But those are not generally quite so serious. The other risk of denial that comes up, and is absolutely you're unable to overcome this, is if you chose your country of birth incorrectly, or you gave your country of chargeability. It's called chargeability. In other words, you gave the wrong country of chargeability during the entry process, and that country is in a different region. So what I mean there is, let's say I was born in Algeria, but I now live in Europe, and so for whatever reason I suggested that I'm chargeable to France. Okay? That would be a mistake that would move my case from the Africa region to the EU region. And because of that regional change, I will 100% certain get denied. Okay, there's no way that I can fix that. On the other hand, if I claim to be from France when actually I was born in Germany, because both of those countries are in the same region, it's not such a serious error. And in most cases, there are some slight complications there, but in most cases you can be forgiven that sort of mistake. So hopefully you're understanding that there are some serious mistakes that you may have made, and there are some not so serious mistakes that you may have made. And again, on my blog and in my videos, I've explained very clearly which of those mistakes you can fix and which you can't fix. Okay? There are many people, by the way, that will try and tell you they can fix your problem. There are people, that pretend to be some sort of agent or some sort of lawyer or whatever in your countries, and in some countries in particular, they're going to try and take advantage of you. Please, please don't fall for that. Don't be so naive as to think some third-party person in whatever country can fix the problem you make. If I tell you that your problem is a serious problem and it cannot be overcome, I mean that because I understand the process, I understand the laws, and I've been doing this multiple years. And remember, I'm not charging you anything for that advice, so you should be able to trust me. I know what I'm talking about, and I've got no reason to lie to you. If somebody else tells you that they can fix it if only you'll give them $500 or $5,000 or something, think about their motivation, think about where they're coming from. They're clearly trying to scam you. Just a word on scams, by the way. I know a lot of people still, for some reason, enter the lottery, which is a free lottery to enter and is very simple to enter, but they enter the lottery using a third-party agent. And quite often those agents try and then blackmail you for your information, for your winning information. They try and get more money from you. I'm sorry if that's happened to you. I would have advised you not to go through that agent. But really you need to try and, just find somewhere around that if you can. But don't pay people money for this, because if an agent has entered for you, the chances are they've made a mistake in your application, which will probably cause your application to be denied anyway. And so it doesn't make sense to pay people money for this, for your win. Okay. Now, there is the last part of this video. This is a final part that I wanted to come to. It would be impossible for me to discuss DV lottery at the moment without discussing the impacts of the COVID crisis on the DV lottery. There has been a very big impact. Now, you're all applying for and have been selected in DV2022. DV2020 and DV2021 are the previous 2 years of lotteries, and both of those years have been really terribly impacted by the COVID crisis. The COVID crisis caused the previous government administration under President Trump to do certain things which were frankly not wise and unkind and cruel, but under the pretense of the crisis. Okay, the real reason was to just stop immigration, frankly, but nevertheless they put in place certain controls and certain measures that absolutely decimated DV 2020 and then caused great problems for DV 2021. We were hoping that under President Biden things would get much better, that he would be able to quickly solve the problems that existed for immigration in general and fix some of the things that Trump had done. And to some extent he's done that. President Biden has taken certain actions that have improved things, but he's not fixed everything. And clearly his focus is on the COVID crisis at home, and he's doing a tremendous job of that. But that's been his main focus, and he's not looking abroad well enough, in my opinion, and is not moving fast enough to fix some of these problems. Some of these problems, I have to say, are caused because Trump gutted the immigration system. He took out many resources in terms of staffing. He injected a level of animosity and stupidity into the process in order to make things more difficult for immigrants, including DV lottery immigrants. And it became thoroughly, much more difficult under Trump to process the cases. As a net result, we had to take certain legal actions in order to preserve the chances of some of the cases in DV 2020, and we're currently battling legally through the courts on DV 2021. And so there's this whole political, legal situation going on, and we'll continue to fight that. I work with some lawyers, I help them in the background, etc., to give them as much information as I can, and there are some lawyers that are working very hard, some very smart, decent, hard-working lawyers in America that are actually trying to fight for the rights of DV lottery selectees everywhere. But the reality is there are also COVID impacts that are not to do with the politics and with the legal position. Out of the roughly 150 embassies that normally process cases, approximately 50 of those embassies right now are totally closed. They're not taking any cases whatsoever for DV 2021. Of the remaining 100 or so embassies that are taking cases, they're working at a very slow pace. And the central department called KCC, the Kentucky Consular Center, the department that processes all of the DV cases, are working at a very slow pace too. And so there are going to be impacts, I believe, for DV 2022. The COVID crisis itself is going to continue unabated in some countries. It'll probably get worse before it gets better in some countries. In America, we've got a very good vaccination program, thank goodness for President Biden's leadership on that. And so over a third of the country are fully vaccinated, including myself and my family. And so the COVID numbers are decreasing here, but there's other countries where the COVID crisis is out of control. India is one such example, a very sad example, and you know, it's certainly it's heartbreaking to watch. But it does mean that staff at the US embassies in some of these countries are legitimately not wanting to work because working would expose themselves to the virus, and also it would expose their customers, you, to the virus by having many of you sitting in a waiting room, etc., for your interview. And so there are legitimate but frustrating reasons why the COVID crisis will continue to impact us. I'm hoping, as I have been hoping for a year now, that the government would find a way to improve that processing, perhaps by doing interviews by remote Zoom calls and that sort of thing. But even after a year, they've been unable to implement any of those strategies. So it's been a problem, and it still continues to be a problem. So as we talk here in May, all I can say to you is that for DV 2022, I do believe there's going to be some impact of the COVID crisis on the DV lottery program, and that impact will mean that less people will get their visas. That's very sad. That's a very tough thought, and DV 2020 applicants and DV 2021 applicants are going through an amazingly frustrating battle right now in order to get their chances of a visa. Some people are being helped, but not everybody is, and not everybody will be. So yeah, it's something you need to be aware of. And I'm sorry to have to touch on this sort of sad subject, but frankly, I couldn't be talking about DV lottery at the moment without talking about the impacts that I've been living through for the last year or 18 months, helping the lawyers fight the battles, etc. And it's been a tough time. So I hope you understand why I mentioned it now. Okay, so that's probably the end of this video. I've linked to certain videos, hopefully, if I've done things right, in the upper part of the screen, and you've been able to click on those videos, and maybe you've watched those videos and then you come back to this one. You'll also find some of those important links in the description below on the YouTube channel here, under this particular video. In my YouTube channel, there's various playlists. There's one which is called an FAQ, frequently asked questions, and so that is a place where you can go and you can see a number of videos I've produced before which explain various topics on the DV lottery process, and I advise you to go and have a look at those. In the same way, you can go to my blog and you'll see again there'll be an FAQ section, has a lot of good information, and you'll be able to get most of the answers you need for most of the topics from those FAQs. If you still have questions at the end of that, and you want to ask a question, I answer questions on my blog. You can go to my blog, it's BritSimonSays.com, I'll link it below, BritSimonSays.com, and you can post in there any question you need to ask, but just understand that most questions have been asked before, and even though you might think your question is very unique, it probably isn't unique, because I've been doing this for years. I've been answering these questions for years, and so many of the questions I've turned into FAQ, frequently asked questions, where I've already written out some information, and you can read that and get your answer that way. But I answer questions. Other than that, I answer questions every day of the week. I've done that without any pay for 7 years now, and you know, I hope that's helpful to you. So by all means, go and check those out. I'd ask a couple more things. Number one, give me a like on this video if you liked the video, and subscribe to my channel. By doing those two things, you actually help my channel get to more people. And so that more people get the good information that I put out there. And so I'd appreciate if you could take a moment to do that. And of course, by subscribing to my channel, you'll actually be getting alerts when I publish new content, and you know, more information. And you will need more information as you go through this process, I promise you. You'll need that information, and I'll also be giving updates as we go through on various important matters. Okay? Okay everybody, so once again, congratulations on your selection. It's an amazing thing. I've been through it before. It's an incredible opportunity. Living in America is fantastic. There's nothing quite like it, frankly. And it is a land full of opportunities. It's not going to work out for everybody. It's not perfect for everybody, but for many, many people, it's a great place to live. And so, you know, I'm happy for you to have this opportunity. Congratulations. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, give me a like, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.